All right, hello everyone, and welcome into another episode of the Countess in podcast. This is episode 51, I believe.
52.
Now 52. Okay, my bad. Correction, episode 52. And I'm joined. My name is Jamie Joyner, and I'm joined by my fellow co-hosts, Mr. Matthew Lacey. How you doing, Matt?
Hello, everyone. Yeah, good, man. How are you?
Good. Yeah, doing good. Thanks, mate. And Mr. Harry Sermon. Croaky Harry Sermon today.
Yeah, hi guys. Sorry, apologies for the voice potential sniffing and coughing. I'll do my best to mute or cut it out. But how is everyone? Are we good?
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Good, thanks, buddy. Yeah.
Doing good. I think we're all kind of looking forward to a little Easter break coming up, isn't it? We've all got concerts and gigs and lessons and things all going left, right, and centre. So I think we're all kind of looking forward for a little bit of a breather.
Yeah.
100%.
But yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. So I think, should we just dive straight to the topic today? I think we've got a good one, and I'm really keen to get sort of stuck in. We were thinking about discussing this sort of stuff, sort of off the podcast anyway, but then we also got a listener question coming as well. It was kind of relevant to this as well. So you forgive me, I can't remember the name of the person that sent you know, Matt. I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, sorry, Jay. Thanks, man. Yeah, it was Ryan Clark. Thanks for listening, man. Appreciate it. He asked a question about how we get on practicing at home, and whether we use an e-kit or whether we've got the opportunity to use acoustic drums at home, or whether we're, quote unquote, although he didn't say this, but we're stuck on a practice pad or a practice pad setup. I know we were kind of generally going to be talking about the difference between e-kits and acoustic kits and all the rest of it. And
but I think we can come at it from, the electric kit, acoustic kit, maybe using pad kit, silent cymbals. There's a whole, obviously, like the whole spectrum of stuff that's available now, and it's all gotten pretty good. I think back in the day, there was kind of like you had an acoustic kit, and that was it. Maybe there was electric kits out there, but I don't know. Certainly for me, it kind of felt like they weren't as common, maybe, or it was kind of like you were kind of one of a few if you had, especially a nice acoustic kit. Electric kit. I definitely, like, there was a nice one in school for me, and that I always got really excited about it because it was like completely different to what I'd ever played on, but it was quite nice. But yeah, I mean, did you guys have electric kits and stuff as well, sort of when you were growing up and learning, or not really?
No, well, I didn't. I had, when my dad's drum kit came out, New Year's Eve, and occasionally when he had a gig, very rarely when he was not full time. When we were young, he had a job and everything, so he wasn't a gigging drummer. But that would come out. And I had a practice pad, but never had electric kits. I tried a couple in shops, and I just couldn't get on with them because, like, the hi-hats weren't, back in the day, they just really weren't.
I mean, not much
good.
Change, really, has it?
Well, I mean, now I've got, I think the hi-hat sensitivity's got better. And I think back in the day, now I'm talking, I remember when Simmons kits came out, and those octagonal electric drums that you used to see Bill Bruford playing with Yes or whatever, like in the early 80s, mid 80s.
Yeah.
And they were like hitting, I never played one, but apparently they were like hitting a Formica worktop. They were just like rock hard. And you had to really hit them hard to get them. There was no variable trigger. It was on or off. But yeah, so, I mean, drum machines were a thing. So like everyone was into Linn machines. So you're programming electric drums rather than having an electric kit to play. But no, I never had, I had one practice pad. I didn't even have a stand for it. I had to put it on my bed and play it. Or whatever. So,
it would be interesting, actually. Like, I've not, we haven't done any research on electric kits specifically, but I don't know, like, when they became a thing, like when they first started becoming popular, roughly. I'd imagine kind of
I think
know,
84,
early 2000s?
85. I get. Oh, in terms of when they came out or when they started to become a more.
Well, I guess both. You know,
Yeah.
From my, I kind of gauge just roughly that
Mm.
it, like early 2000s when I started seeing them popping up a little bit more frequently,
Yeah.
or they were in schools and stuff like that. But I don't know. What about for you, Matt?
I think it's like all these things. When the technology comes out, it was like, you know, I remember record. Not that I was playing in recording studios in the 80s, but you know, it was a really expensive bit of kit that only studios could afford. And you know, give that 15 years, and now that technology got cheap enough to be able to put into a kit that could be bought by a school, or you know, people that had enough money could have at home. You know, but they weren't. I don't ever remember them being a kind of. And let's be fair, they're not necessarily a cheaper alternative to acoustic drums. I think they're just a more practical alternative, because people are under the impression that they're silent, which we all know.
Yeah,
far from silent.
They're not.
Yeah.
They're far from silent. In terms of
they're more
vibrations. Yeah.
yeah. Though I do think that does depend as well, like what type of pads you're going for and stuff like that. You know, we all know that the rubber pads are very different from playing the mesh pads and so on.
Where
So
you're playing
there is
it in
a
your
little
hand.
bit of variation, but in general, they are still pretty loud, very thuddy as well. And it's always the bass drum, isn't it? That is the issue anyway.
Yeah. So, I mean, have we all got electric kits? Harry, I'm saying that with a question mark. I'm not sure. Have you got an e-kit at home, Harry? I don't know whether you have you?
No, I have my one that I use for work, which is a Yamaha something or other. That's fine.
Yeah.
To be honest, I'll outright say I'm not really a big fan of them in general, to be honest, and I never kind of have been. I never had one at like the school when I started learning to drum and like having lessons and so on when I was in secondary school. We had a load of Roland ones at BIM that we just used to practice on. They were never plugged in. So they were literally just like used for practical with like something to hit, like basically loads of practice pads set up in a drum kit. And I've never sort of yearned for one or wanted to get one or sort of put my money into one. They're not really for me, to be honest. I was the same as you, Matt. Literally the only thing I had was my acoustic kit, which I sort of did the whole sort of silent stroke stuff with Remo silent stroke heads and like these things called like Simbo mutes. They were almost like bands that you'd put around the cymbals.
Like a big kind of elastic, like a steering wheel cover type thing.
Oh, I've never seen those before.
They were pretty good. You still got obviously all the attack of like hitting a cymbal and stuff like that, but they completely killed the sound. I would say it's like a slightly louder version of like hitting like a rubber pad of an electric kit. So that was pretty cool. So I was always playing like my kit, but just like a silent version. But again, it was still pretty loud, you know, kind of can't really do much about it. But I mean, I don't know if we want to jump, I can kind of talk about what I kind of use now, but yeah, for me, it was always just practice pads and just playing kits in rehearsal rooms or, you know, at uni or taking my kit to practice or playing it at gigs. Pretty much always just played real kits, to be honest.
Yeah.
Jay, you've got a Roland, have you, at home? It's really an extent. You have it set up at home when you're not using it for gigs, I guess.
Yeah, it kind of has its just sort of place up in my kind of little music room up here, and I use it for practicing and teaching. So I do quite a bit of online lessons. I've probably got about 5, I think, online drum students.
Right.
And just kind of use it for that. But I originally brought it for gigs, actually, just because the band I was playing in at the time, the rest of the band were all sort of like plug-in digital, you know, kind of with their, I don't know, the guitar lingo, but you know, the Kemper stuff and kind of Helix pedals and all that sort of stuff. So, and they were like, oh, we really want to try doing electric kit. And we kind of had like a little band part, and we got an Alesis with it. I took it out on one gig, I remember, and just feeling like it was okay, but it felt like I was playing Guitar Hero at the back of the room. Do you know what I mean? Like, just like
top score though.
Everything was just so close. And like when the hi-hats and the snare and stuff are not, they don't even look like a hi-hat or snare. They're just round pads. I think the hi-hat might have been, I can't even remember, the hi-hat was like completely circular. It might have been circular, and me trying to play it like, it just didn't feel right. And eventually I was just like, that's not going to work for me, or at least that particular kit won't. If I want to do this, if I'm going to do this, I want to get like one that's going to feel a little bit better, a little bit nicer. And then kind of bunch of different things happened. I sort of like left that band, but then started playing with a few different other bands, all of which were also asking for electric kit from time to time. And I was like, right, it's becoming a thing now. I'm being asked about it quite a bit, so I'm gonna kind of invest in. I've got the Roland TD27 KV, and it's kind of just like a kind of mid-high tier Roland kit, which is like not like the full fancy like VAD like actual floor tom shape sort of thing, but has the digital snare and the digital ride, and that sort of stuff. So I've got like a little bit of sensitivity with it, which just made it feel that much better when playing. So I got it for that. And I mean, to be honest, I love it. It like it keeps giving for me. It's been worth the upgrade, and to be able to jump on a gig for it, to be able to do some lessons with it, and then also to be able to run songs and practice and prep for stuff, or even just chuck headphones on and have a little jam out to a song that I haven't played in years or whatever, like just to get something out of my system. Like, that's really nice. Not the same as an acoustic kit, but a long way. And given the chance, I would always choose acoustics over that. But it felt right, and I don't know. It's slotted in quite nicely with kind of what I'm doing, so it's felt good. So that's how I use mine. But yeah, you've got a Yamaha as well, haven't you, Matt?
Yeah,
and you picked that up not too long ago. So UK Drum Show.
Drum Show. It would be 3 years ago now. It was when they'd just not been long out. So I've got a Yamaha DTX 8. I couldn't warrant the DTX 10. Oh, because you get nice wooden shells, and I'm like, yeah, really, what I'm going to use it for? I can't warrant that. The extra, however many hundreds it was. So I've got a DTX 8. I need to update it. Actually, there's a software patch come up for it. What I liked about it, and I've tried a few, it's got a hi-hat stand, so it's a separate hi-hat with a proper pedal. It's not, and I found it it felt as the most like an acoustic hi-hat in terms of the feel I could get from it that I'd used on any kits. I went for the TCS heads. He said, reading the heads in front of him, which, as we all know, stand for textured cellular silicon heads. So I didn't go with the mesh heads.
There's options for heads, is there, with the Yamaha
so you can buy them with a mesh head.
Right.
Yeah, you can buy them with a mesh head or with these silicon heads, which are more like practice pads. A little bit more giving them, I think. Not probably because there's a bit more give them, perhaps not quite as bouncy, not quite as much rebound on them. But I played mesh heads, and I don't get on with them. I think they're far like hitting a trampoline for me, and I wanted to use it to play my. I wanted to know it was my stick work doing the work, not just shed loads of rebound off a trampoline. So yeah, I bought that then, and it kind of was one of those things where I set it up temporarily for people watching. I'm doing the like little quotation marks So temporarily I set it up just to make sure it all worked and it all commented great. And of course, that was 3 years ago, and it's still set up temporarily and it's in an upstairs bedroom. So the vibrations carry through the house a lot. Yeah. I've got it on rubber matting on the floor, which was a little hack I got from you, Harry. The old B&Q rubber mats.
Yeah, they're good. They are.
They are, and
they do help.
And I tend to play it. I've actually recorded some demos on it. and I've just practiced songs on it. I do some coordination stuff on it, forward coordination, and just getting or playing orchestration around the kit and movement and flow. But it's not like, oh, I need to practice. I must sit at my DTX. I've got a practice pad, and I do most of my sticking on a pad downstairs, out of the way. So yeah, I mean, I use it a lot when I can. I probably don't get on it every day. In fact, I probably get on it at most twice a week, to be honest. Yeah. And that's if, quite honestly, I've got the house to myself, and I've got some songs to learn for a set, and I want to run a set in order. I want to play full bore for 45 minutes. And yeah, it's got 2 crashes, a ride, 17-inch ride, 15-inch crashes, 15-inch hi-hats.
So that they feel like cymbals in terms of like their size and stuff.
Yeah,
and they
absolutely.
Look like
and they've got the weight to them. And they're 3-zone. So, you've got a certain amount of touch in them. They do catch me out sometimes when you play them and you go, oh, that cymbal was way too loud for how hard I hit it. It's got a cross stick function on it as well, so I can turn the cross stick on. I don't know whether yours have got that, so I can play cross stick. I think the triggering's not brilliant because for a slightest tap on a cross stick, you get the loudest cross stick noise in your ear. It's unbelievable. But it's great, and it's gave me far more kit time than I would get, waiting to get to my teaching where I teach on a Saturday, and I've got the use of a kit there. It's I didn't buy it with the intention of doing gigs. I don't gig with it. But it's great. I've done some recording with it. It comes with an app, the record and share app that Yamaha do. So you can upload MP3s to it, record yourself in video playing the songs and stuff. So that's been good to play with. I practiced a lot of the rock school syllabus on it, just in terms of arrangements. So it's pretty good, but I don't use it as my only way of practice. So because I just wouldn't get on it all the time. Wouldn't get on it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, do you think if you didn't have it, would you feel there would be a hole there, and you'd be like, oh, I really like, if you're prepping a set, for example, does it really matter if you can run the whole thing physically? Or do you feel like, oh, actually, if I've just got a pad and I just I can tap it out, or I can just listen to the songs and repeat, like I learn them that way, I don't have to physically play them. Like, do you think you'd miss the kit if?
Yeah, well, it's difficult. I think until before I had this, that's exactly what I do. I'd tap it out on a pad, and you're mentally listening to a fill, and you're working out where your limbs are going to go and what you're going to play. Yeah. I think that's just plugged the gap. So I can physically, because I did a set for a band recently, and there was a couple of songs there with some kind of little bit, what I would say, they weren't complex fills, but in terms of just where they sat and how you got to them, I just needed to run through the mechanics of it. And it just means that the muscle memory's there. So when I go into a rehearsal studio with a band for the first time, if I got one rehearsal before a gig, I've done all of the mechanics, so it fills that gap for me, definitely.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So it's good.
Because I know that, like, Harry, you have like a little like practice pad / hi-hat and like some silent cymbal setup, like a pad kit sort of thing going on. That you use at home.
For the viewers.
Let's see.
Oh, look.
There you go. It's a couple of low volume things there. It's basically a Yamaha kick pad, because I'm too cheap to buy the Evans one that's like $100. Even though it is really actually quite quiet. When we went to Drum Depot, I played it and it was really nice. There's quite a lot of slap on that, so I've got like a sock wrapped around the beater that does the job nicely.
Nice.
I've got a 12-inch Meinl pad with my reflex on top, and then I've got like an 18-inch cymbal that's like a ride, and then 16-inch hi-hats with I guess it's almost like a little tea towel sort of thing over the top of it, and like some microfiber cloths shoved in the middle as well to really kind of deaden it out. I mean, you probably can't hear it, but that's how quiet it is.
Yeah. So hang on, just clarify. So your practice kit is still got 16-inch hi-hats?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, yeah.
I could have got 14. It was actually cheaper to get two
absolutely
crashes.
Sonically no difference.
No.
Sonically no difference on a dumbed down practice pad. It's still got me 16. Yeah.
But it feels better. I think for me, like, a big reason why I don't like electric kits is it sounds silly to say there's nothing to them. They're great, obviously, to practice your motor functions and to, like you said, physically learn and practice fills and parts and so on. But I think for me personally, that's where it stops. You can't work on like your sound and your dynamics and your flow and all that sort of stuff. That's just it, you know. And obviously, the silent cymbals and so on is still like really exactly the same. And that kit for me is great to do exactly what you guys have described. Like, okay, I've got a set list this weekend. I want to play through some songs I've actually not played before. I know them, but I want to just get them under the hands, you know, to make sure that I can kind of do it. Or there's this little tricky bit here. I want to make sure that I can actually do it. I've got a couple of spare pads I can kind of set up as toms. You know, I can live with one cymbal sort of thing. So it's all about just kind of getting it under the hands, you know. And then if it was like a really like a sound thing, you know, you got to take the kit to the room and sort of figure it out from there, you know. But yeah, like those cymbals, I think I bought them in lockdown. It was like 90 quid for all of them.
Great.
So like super, super affordable. I'm sure you could probably buy like a whole practice pad, low volume cymbal setup for, you know, next to nothing. But, you know, if you have to do a low volume gig, towel up the kit and take those cymbals and you're sorted, you know.
Yeah.
It's kind of got a lot of crossover.
I
haven't been asked to do that, thankfully, yet, but could do, you know.
It's a good little like placeholder kit, isn't it? Like just something to kind of go through the motions, like you're saying, like the motor strokes, and or like you're like, oh, I'm just gonna work out that sticking, or how might that like feel if I played it in this like groove way or something. But it wouldn't be, doing the, like you said, like the dynamics and the flow and kind of creativity and sound on
feels a little bit, you know, in terms of like, I guess not necessarily feel in terms of sound, but you can kind of work on hoping that it feels right, if that makes sense. Say you were practicing along to like a Dilla song, you could still, even without, you know, technically everything being on mute, you could still kind of practice and sort of feel if it feels right, you know. But yeah, I think it's just like a really great, like that's like to me like the next step up from just a practice pad, you know, or a practice pad and a kick pad. You know, it's nice to have like the cymbals involved because, you know, really should be able to kind of do everything with just kick, snare, hats, you know. And for me, it's great. It's tucked in the corner, super out the way. It's not very loud. You know, it does, like you said, Matt, kind of travels a little bit. If no one's home, I'll probably, kind of lay in a little bit, but I can sit and just kind of tap lightly through whilst, you know, anyone's home or whatever. Any, you know, sort of,
it's great,
sort of kind of time of the day, not too early, not too late sort of thing. And it's just a nice little thing to have, you know.
Yeah, I do know of a couple of pros. So I know Stan Bicknell's talked about this, and Louis Palmer has talked about this as well in terms of practice setup. And both of them have said they don't have e-kits. They don't think they work. They think there's too much distraction with them.
Yeah,
and they have a practice pad set up with a practice pad kick and a practice pad, you know, hi-hat or, you know, pedal or whatever. Maybe they've got a double kick. I don't know. And they'll just use practice pads for cymbals and practice pad for one up, one down, because it's too much faff and it's too much distraction with sound sources and triggers and you know.
It's a lot cheaper as well to do it that way around.
You've
probably got a bunch of practice pads sort of laying around that you can just position, stick on stands, and you know, good to go.
I think you also get a bit of a false sense of like accomplishment as well with it. Like you could probably, I can shred on the 16-inch floor tom, you know, and then you play a real 16-inch floor tom, and it's like, you know, sounds nothing like that. You just, I can imagine. And obviously being someone that doesn't really play electric kit, even the kit that I play at work, when I chop out on that when no one's, you know, in the classroom with me or whatever, you do get sort of a fake sense of like, wow, I'm really good. Like, I can make it sound really cool.
You can sound pretty good on electric kit. And
you go into a kit, you're like, what on earth is this? You know what I mean? Like, this is
especially when you crank a bit of ambience up and a bit of compression. It sounds like you're playing a massive stadium.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfectly tuned toms. Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. And you hit them perfect every time.
As you know, as people that have electric kits, would you say a student comes to you and go, I need a sort of solution to practice, and they've got a couple of £100 saved up. Would you advise them to get an electric kit? Say they have an acoustic kit and they gig maybe, or they're sort of playing, acoustic kits. So would you advise them to invest that money into, a sort of half decent used electric kit, or maybe some sort of, a silent pair of hi-hats and a kick pad, and maybe put the other towards a new snare drum sort of thing? I know I definitely sort of go for the latter sort of thing. But
I think
what would you guys do?
I guess it's down to space.
Yeah.
Because if they've got an acoustic kit and they can set that up at home, I'd say put silent stroke pads on your real kit.
Yeah.
And have silent cymbals. That's the closest you're going to get.
Yeah.
Invest £200 or £300 in all the silent stroke pads or whatever company you want to use, and do that. If you've not got the space, now it depends. If it's an adult learner, then you probably say, well, no, you want to get yourself a practice pad. I have lots of younger students, and I do kind of go down the e-kit route with them because I think they need that level of kind of engagement with it, so they can play different sounds and they get in the 100%. Kid's not gonna sit there with an Evans kick pad.
Sounds so good.
Because they want to get involved. I can make it do this sound and I can change that sound. This is the sound of the drum kit I prefer, and
it's just not that level, is it? It's just
built-in metronome.
Drums,
it's a built-in metronome. They've got little games on. There's preview tracks they can play along to.
It's like a nice little package for them, isn't it? You just kind of everything that you could want to kind of get a flavour of what it's like to be a drummer. You can kind of get that with it. Even though
so that's great. And if it's an adult, then it's maybe you look at getting something like practice pads and get an e-kit, like you say, just from a coordination perspective. Again, it's so difficult, isn't it? I mean, I don't think I would be engaged with playing at home if I had a practice pad set up. For me, one of the things I found is if I'm playing something on a pad, and then I take it to the kit and I want to change the orchestration, that's tricked my ear. All of a sudden, playing that paradiddle diddle on different as an example, on different toms. That sounds different than playing it on a pad when every note sounds the same.
Sure.
So for me, it was a great thing to have, I can play that here. I can play it on a tom. And it's just a different sound source rather than the same pad. So, I've had that with some students actually tonight where we've got them to play, literally got them to change their hands around. So they're playing rock groove, but they're playing the right hand on the snare and the left hand on the hi-hat or on a tom. And because it's not, even though they're playing exactly the same sticking, but they've just changed the sound source, it's really tricked. I can't play it. Because they're used to that particular hand making a certain sound.
It's a big thing. Definitely.
Yeah, it's a big thing. So it's a great question, Harry. I think it would depend on this. If they've got room for a full size kit, or let's be fair, we're talking about bass drums because they're taking up the floor space, aren't they? If they've got room to have a 4-piece kit set up, but can't make noise, put it on some rubber matting, insulate it as much as possible, and put silent stroke heads on it. They might have a practice pad anyway. You're going to put that top of the snare.
Yeah, sorted.
How about you? What's your experience of that, Jay? In terms of you've got students. Have you got students that have acoustic kits all the time, or students that have e-kits? And do you notice a difference in either their engagement with rehearsing or practicing, or the progress they're making, for example? I don't know.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Like, I agree with a lot of what you said there, Matt, like about, space being a big issue, and just being able to recommend an electric kit to like a beginner, like I would as well. Especially if you're looking for just not too much investment, but a lot of return, like all the kind of fun stuff early on, which is what you want for a young learner. I think that's great. 100%. And parents don't want to dish out on a big big acoustic drum kit that is really loud and takes up all this space, and they've got to like go out in the garage or something like that. Whereas an electric kit, show it in the corner of the room, and you can turn them down. And yes, it's still loud, yes, it's still thuddy or whatever, but if it's right there in their space, they're much more like this. What I observe is they're a little bit more likely to practice it, especially if they're young, if they're 10 or if they're a teenager, even if the kit is in the garage cold, like in the middle of winter, they're not going to go out and play the song that they can't play and that you're telling them to play every week. You know,
there's barriers, isn't it? You know,
and also you think about like if they are wanting to jam along to their favorite songs and stuff, you know, there's a real limitation, I think, with acoustic kits, because unless you've got noise cancelling, this, that, and the other, fancy headphones and whatever. Whereas with electric kit these days, it's all Bluetooth, and you just plug it in and you go, and suddenly you're playing along to your favorite songs. You know, and it's said earlier, like it kind of all as a package. So I think certainly for younger students or sort of beginner drummers, especially those that don't have a specific, like necessarily a goal yet, I think it's great. But if, like we said earlier, Harry, like if they were gigging and they were looking to refine their sound a bit more, or maybe invest in something, upgrade something a little bit more, would I say, oh, okay, you've got 200-300 quid. Oh, yeah, I think you should buy an electric kit. Probably not. I'd say no, upgrade your cymbals or upgrade your heads, like 100%. I think that if you're going to like do it, like especially if you're interested in sound and gigging and you know, kind of maybe trying to, you know, pursue it either as a hobbyist or as particularly as a profession, like I think actually invest in the acoustic stuff. That's going to be where the fulfillment comes. But also speaking from my own experience, I know that I dropped a lot of money on this particular Roland, and it's paid for itself, you know, multiple times over, just because I knew what it was that I wanted it for. And the fact that I can take gigs and play that, not only is it super convenient in a lot of cases in comparison to an acoustic kit, not the same, 100%. Again, would always choose an acoustic kit gig, but I just chuck them all in a bag, fold up the kit, and I chuck it in the back of the car. I'm 2 trips and I'm done. And it's light. I'm not lugging things around everywhere. Setup time's 20 minutes. You know, I'm just plug and play. You know, all of that sort of stuff. If you're looking to do online teaching, which obviously I am, it's ideal. Another reason why I recommend students have it is I'm like, if they've got an electric kit and you've got an electric kit, teaching from the comfort of your own home, having lessons from the comfort of your own home is better than having to drive to some teacher half an hour away, 20 minutes away or whatever, have a lesson, drive back, you know, adding it all on. Actually, if you're happy, you've got internet connection, you've got a laptop, you've got a Zoom account, and even if you just got a basic kit, having an online lesson is actually a lot more convenient in many senses. Not the same, again, not the same, but especially if you're 14, I think that you don't care whether you're too much, whether you're playing an old drum kit that you've inherited from someone, or whether you've got a beginner electric kit that you can at least play your favorite songs on. I think that, you know, I would say that there are definitely benefits to the electric kit that do outweigh the acoustic kit in many, and the practice pad setup as well in many ways. But I think it's only right for certain scenarios, certain people and their setup, like what you want to achieve as a drummer. You know, you might just be like, I don't want to do any gigs with electric kit, full stop. And that's fine. Don't do that. You know, but yeah, for me, I've been offered gigs because I have an electric kit. They're like, oh, I know you gig with yours, so do you want to do this gig? Cool. Great. And it's nice to, if like me, you're happy to play it, like, because, you know, again, I don't enjoy it as much, but to go out and still have an experience of I'm playing a gig and I'm not hating life, you know, on this like really basic electric kit, then I'm like, yeah, why not? You know, I would advise someone, just, it's like having another, don't know, snare drum for a different scenario.
I guess also for like the, you know, for the younger, you know, newer people, you know, that want to play and want to practice, that there's no excuse then. You know, that will, if they're excited and passionate about the drums, they've got that, you know, excitement to do it. They have an electric kit that they can play at home that makes drum sounds golden. You know, like they're going to progress much quicker. yes, they might want to play an acoustic kit and so on, but there's going to be a huge difference, their progression of not being able to play a kit versus just having something to hit, essentially. Like, I even notice that the kids that I teach, when the amount of kids that have gone and gotten like guitars or basses or, keyboards or drums and stuff like that, and they have actually even like played it like once or twice a week, and like the progression over a couple of weeks of lessons have been like astronomically bigger versus the one that literally get the 25 minutes with me once a week, it's just, everything just connects so much better. So for sure.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I probably do more on my pad, because I'll sit downstairs when I'm working before I go to teach. I'll try and eke out some time on the pad every day, and I have a pair of sticks on the pad. But it's that thing of like, if you can remove as much friction as possible, between, like you say, I wouldn't go and practice if I got to go to the garage.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I think the environment is a huge thing. Even if it's just like it's upstairs, it's in a room with floorboards. That's a very different to having it downstairs or having it in a garage, or if you're in a terraced house rather than a semi or detached house. That's also a factor. For me, in some ways it's okay because I'm on semi-detached and I'm on the side that's not attached, which is really nice. And also I live alone, so I'm not bothering anyone in the house. Whereas other people may have family, significant other, or whatever that doesn't want to hear tapping all day long.
Yeah.
Whereas I can.
Or they've got young children that have gone to bed, that vibration is just not practical, is it?
Yeah. So I think it largely depends, doesn't it? I mean, not that you would get that back if you had an acoustic kit instead, but
no, of course,
but there's
I mean, the obvious answer is to put the kids to bed in the garage, and then
don't know why
you've got the run through of the house, haven't you?
Yeah. Set the kit up in the lounge, right next to the fireplace. It's lovely.
Perfect.
Every room, have a kit in every room.
Was there any more to that question, Matt? Was there any sort of other things that we sort of
didn't
touch on?
Yeah, no, I think, being perfectly honest, I'm not sure we actually answered Ryan's question.
It was about practice, wasn't it? Specifically, like how we.
It was about it was about how we manage our practice at home, really.
Yeah.
And whether we have e-kits and acoustic kits, and how do we work around that? I guess in terms of the things we talked about, noise. Consistency of practice. I had a pad for ages and still have a pad, and that's where I'm working out stickings. The thing that I want to do more work on, and I think we've touched on this before, apologies if we kind of repeat ourselves, is taking a sticking from the pad and applying it to the kit.
Yeah.
And I've got my chops in here, I can do this on a single surface, smashing it. Now I've got to move my arms around the kit, and I've got to maintain good technique, otherwise I'm just stuck, and that's the thing where having multiple surfaces. I don't know, you can get pads which have got 4 different playing surfaces on different sounds and noise, but I think just that physical movement of getting around the kit, because and I say for someone, a newer drummer who's learning paradiddles on a single surface, and then it's right. And I think I was doing this with someone. It's in one of the grade books. I can't remember which grade. And then you're moving. It's the new grade. I think
moving the accent,
paradiddles around the toms. All of a sudden, there's like, I've got a moving hand, and it sounds different.
And feels different.
And feels different because you're not getting the rebound. That's why your control strokes are important, people. If you've seen my reel that's gone up today, but
4 days ago when you hear this,
so 4 days ago. It's important that they kind of have that ability to play across different surfaces, and that's something I want to work on more and try to work on when I have got opportunity to sit at the kit, and it's taking stuff. But I think the 4-way independence and having a bass drum and a hi-hat that are making the noises of a bass drum and a hi-hat. When I'm wanting to play, Latin stuff or whatever, I'm playing an Austin.
I guess the answer is depends what you're practicing, because if you are just working on sticking or working on technique or something, practice pad absolutely fine. If you're doing a coordination thing and you just need to get your head around, like, I don't know, whatever it is, Songo or something, you don't need a full kit for that. You just need kick, snare, hats, but is better than just a practice pad. But then if you're working on your sound and your feel and dynamics, then you kind of do need a full kit. You can't really do that with a practice pad. Even when I've got this like fancy snare and all of that, my jazz gig that I've got in a couple of months, I'm like, I'm not touching jazz on that thing. It's just no point. It would just sound ridiculous. And so I'm like, I'll get a snare out, I'll get my silent cymbals. I'm like, this has to be done this way, because if I try and comp on that, it just sounds terrible. And I hate it after about 2 seconds. I'm like, this isn't helping me. I'm just, not getting any better. So I think it kind of depends what you want to focus on, or like going through songs or whatever. You can do that kind of on a pad or on like kick, snare, hats. Don't need the whole kit, but
absolutely.
I think for me as well, like I'm pretty continuously hitting a practice pad around the house, every sort of couple of days, just to keep the hands in motion, and just always kind of, even if it's literally for like 10 minutes of just shredding some paradiddles and diddle diddles and some doubles and singles, just feels nice, like it keeps it in check. But then like sitting down and maybe working on like a super quick, busy paradiddle diddle groove or whatever, kind of have to do that really on that. Again, it doesn't really matter the sound as such. I can kind of get a picture of how it would sound and the sort of feeling of it and whatnot. But if I want to work on that, then I'm gonna need that bad boy, But if I'm working, like you said, on my brushes, my, I mean, I've got an old Remo head. I just use that. That will do, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But you can't do that.
So you could get the new Evans a tactile, whatever they call it now, with that kind of coated texture thing on it, which does seem pretty cool as well.
But
I've got an old 12-inch practice pad, and I've kept an old texture coated 12-inch head, and the head fits on the pad. It just
nice,
because it's an Aquarian practice pad and an Aquarian head. I'm not sure they designed it like that, but then I'll just put that on top of my sit it on top of the claws of the thing, and
perfect. I've seen people use pizza box lids and things. All their
bits of paper and books and stuff.
It's all.
There's that great video of Stanton Moore and Jojo Mayer, isn't there, in like a restaurant, and he's doing it on the menu or whatever. And Stanton's got a big glass of wine. He's like, very nice.
I mean. Yeah, if I'd walked in, I'm like, what are they doing?
Yeah, nerds. Show me that again.
Really?
Very cool.
Really, lads? Anyway, I'm sure Jojo will message us if he's... So, I mean, a conversation around e-kits and not e-kits and practice pads and practice pad kits and real kits. So, Ryan, thanks for your question. I'm not sure that we answered it that well.
Let us know.
But it was a great
somewhere in there.
Yeah, it's a great jump off point for the conversation we had in terms of the pros and cons of anything we're going to do there. Is anything, guys? I felt like I was about to fall into the whole wrap up chat. Then, I mean, is there anything else you want me to talk about, or do you guys want to wrap up, or are you guys anything you want to say before I?
I mean, I think we've covered
it all.
Yeah, I was just conscious. I wasn't sure whether the conversation had come to an end there, and I was about to go into the full spiel.
I don't think there's anything else.
No, good.
Thanks for checking out the practice pad videos and the recent reels and episodes and so on. But fire that speech away.
Yeah, keep shooting us questions as well. Just whether it's about this stuff we were talking about today with the electric kits and acoustic kit and stuff. But just anything, if that will spark a conversation between us, or we can kind of shed some light on something from our perspective, then we're more than happy to do that. So definitely reach out to us and give us a DM. What is it? At Count Us In Podcast on Instagram is the place to reach us.
Definitely. And I think we're probably due another listener Q&A. We did an episode on that.
We got a little list, didn't we? Somewhere.
I think we've got a little list, a couple of questions to come back to. But if anyone else has got anything else, we'll pull them all together into an episode. That'd be cool. We'll do that. You've done most of the spiel, Jay. Thanks, man. Don't forget, you can also watch us on YouTube and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We put the reels
every other Friday.
Every other Friday. So if you hear this on a Friday, this episode will be out on YouTube the following Friday from date of release. We put our Instagram reels up on there as shorts. So if you want to subscribe to the channel, then you can make sure you see those when they pop up. They don't get missed in the algorithm on Instagram. And if you found this episode or any of the previous episodes really useful and insightful, and you'd like to send us £3, as we say here in the UK, if you're a non-UK listener, send us £3 in the form of a latte. You can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Countersin podcast. Yeah, there we go, guys. Awesome. We shared the spiel this week.
There we go.
Appreciate it.
Nice.
Enjoy the rest of your week, fellas.
And
thanks everyone for listening. And whatever you're practicing on, go practice.
Yeah.
There you go. That's that from my drop. Finish on that.
Yeah. Surface or no surface. Still got to be done.
Just go play. Just go and play, everyone. See you later.
Bye.
Nice one. Bye.